listen to wonderful program coming to you. And please don't forget to subscribe or give us thumbs up. Yeah, welcome to KJTV. And in the studio, we have Dr. Choti from North Carolina. Welcome to the studio.
Dr. Mandi, I'm in Washington, D.C., Maryland.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the same area. Then we have Dr. Nimu from Minneapolis. Welcome.
Thank you.
And we have Ben Muko from Minneapolis, too. So, yeah, we are here. I know last time I think we met immediately after the election in Kenya. And we are happy that everything has settled down. That there is a formation of a new government. Now, before maybe we delve into this, what are some of the opinion you give about Kenya's democracy, that we have had very successful election and transfer of power? What are some of the opinion you can talk about our country?
Dr. Mandi, welcome, and thank you for this opportunity again to share with our viewers and listeners on this very important issue on Kenya's new government, especially during this transition time. I think I can say that since we had the elections in August, up to this point, I think Kenya has been experiencing a very peaceful and a peaceful period, which is a good thing, because you remember in the past, since the introduction of multi-party politics in Kenya, we have been having problems in the post-electoral time, sometimes characterized by violence and even people losing lives and the property destruction. But at this time, it was different. And I think this is a very positive development, which we must acknowledge as Kenyans and appreciate.
Thank you.
Also, I think though the government is taking long to implement its manifesto, put their programs in place, this is what I think is taking a long time. I don't know, probably it's because of the procedural constitutional requirements, but I think it's a positive time. I think things are working on well, in spite of the natural issues, drought like what we have at the moment, especially in those semi-arid places. Our people are going, losing animals and many other things. I think the situation is not badly off.
Thank you. Dr. Ndim.
Yes, I again, thank you so much for inviting me to back to the studio. And rightly so, you mentioned that the last time we talked here was immediately after the elections, and results were not very clear. We had given the Electoral Commission a great accolades for having conducted those elections in a very mature way. And most importantly, actually, Kenyans behaved in a more than mature way this time round, to echo what my friend Dr. Choti has just mentioned. We have never had such a tranquil and a very beautiful and handover of power since independence, I would say. Although when it's so quiet, it doesn't mean that it's very, very, very good for everybody. It was quiet in a very mature way. Very many people were hurt, but they did not express their heart in a very violent way. So I believe I will echo what my brother Dr. Choti has just said there. Very, very beautiful and easy transition compared to what happened in the US last year.
Okay, thank you very much, Ben.
Yeah, I think I will agree. Thank you, Dr. for inviting us this time again. I will agree with what my colleagues have just said, that Kenya have matured. Internationally now, we are after the elections, nothing happened. I think from 1997, we have been having a problem in Kenya after elections. Okay. This is the only time that we actually, a transition was very smooth and mature. Again, I would congratulate everybody in Kenya that we have only had 7 years or 10 years since the new constitution. So implementation takes long. America has taken 100 years to be where they are. So we are matured democracy in Kenya. Democratic, we are making progress, but we need, there's more work to be done.
Okay, thank you. Now, yeah, President Ruto is in office, and he is putting his government together. Now, he made an appointment of cabinet secretaries. I think made 22 of them, and all of them have been approved by Parliament, and they are working. What is your take on that? In the matter of balancing, and don't forget, he had promised within his 100 days that he was to appoint 50% women to the cabinet. What's your take on that, Dr. Lim?
Thank you again. When he took over power and it was handed to him, I thought it took him a little bit longer to even announce who would be the members of his cabinet. In my opinion, I was a little surprised that he would make a trip to UK and the United States when he had not even formed a government. That was a shame, especially when he was put in a bus from one end in New York, in London, to the funeral. That was a shame, in my opinion. The next thing that I thought took him too long is because he was trying to balance his personal interests and also balancing and using what we call the 2010 Constitution that requires him to have the inclusivity and diversity of the Kenyan population. But to give him credit, though, the CSS, the cabinet secretaries, are well spread out, and he tried to balance, actually, in spite of the fact that he shortchanged the women. He had promised in Kasarani that 50% of this cabinet will be women. That was the first thing that he never really fulfilled. 50%, they only get, I think they're only probably 20%, 25%. Not sure. I think they're less than.
Okay.
They're far less than 50%. Let me say that. So he missed that point. And the other thing about the cabinet is he selected people of really integrity issues. When somebody is in court for murder charges, I find that a little intriguing that he can select that same person to sit in a cabinet. I mean, a person who has a rape case, those are integrity issues, moral issues that I doubt, and that really speaks and behooves of who he is. He says he's a Christian who carries a Bible in one hand, and yet he selects people who have integrity and moral issues, who have been accused of rape, murder, and embezzlement of public funds. So very questionable, really. And that's a bad sign. And I think I want to push back to my friend. I wasn't surprised, though. I want to push back to my brother, Jyoti, who from the very beginning was supporting a man who we know carries a Bible in one hand, but that's the exact opposite of what the Bible says on the other.
Okay, well, Dr. George, looks like...
Thank you. That's a very interesting question, but usually I don't judge people a lot because I leave judgment to God. Because biblical issues are not issues that you can easily judge someone, and we really do not know the spiritual mechanisms of people. It's not easy to know that. That's not our territory. It's not our area. The only thing I can say is that the president has done what he could within the circumstances, the prevailing political circumstances in the country. His traveling to UK was not planned, was not on schedule. He went.
It was an emergency.
It was a funeral.
Yeah.
And these are things happen even in our own families. And you know, UK and Kenya, these are long-term allies, and we have ties, and with obligations and the mutual responsibilities. So as Kenyans, the traveling of the president to UK was not even a personal choice. It was for the good of the country, for the two peoples, the Kenyans and the British. And so that one I don't have to blame him or judge him on that. And also, whenever when he traveled, he has a debut, and Kenya is a democracy. So there's nothing to fear about that. There was nothing that's compromised or anything, especially national interests. Everything was good. And about the cabinet, I think he did well in terms of regional balancing. That was fine. It was well done. Kenyans, I think, appreciated that. But on gender issues, again, that one he fell short of what he had promised the Kenyans, and I don't know reasons, but even Kenyan electorate, they fail us, because when they went to elect leaders, they elected almost 99% males. So I don't know. We are still struggling. Sometimes we have to appreciate the socio-cultural mindset of our people. Or deliberately, we want to work in a way which will levelize or brings gender equality in our societies, especially in our country. And we are, even our constitution actually is working to ensure that we achieve that. But it's becoming like an ideal. But let's hope that sometimes, even as a president, you may find he faces challenges. Probably you want certain kind of personalities, professionals, and then, the problem is in the public sphere, women are not visible. Not many even have really taken are courageous enough to come out. But again, that is a party issue, that is a presidential issue, and as a public and as somebody who supports gender equality, we will keep on insisting. We will keep on insisting that we want that 50% so that
Okay.
we can have a society
That's good, Dr.
which treats everyone equally.
Okay.
Yes.
Ben.
I would just say, I think Professor and Dr. they have said everything. I will only say that President, he has started in a very good foot. And according to me, as the Professor said, traveling to UK, it was an emergency. And let's give the man time to govern. Now the politics is gone. Give him 100 days, and we'll see what he's doing, because he's making progress, actually. To come to agenda equality, I think he's doing well. He's doing better than Uhuru, and he's doing better than Kibaki. So we are making progress as state. Democracy and the Paris agenda, it's a progress, it's a process. So give him time, and he will get there. I think so far, he's not 100%, but so far he's doing very well. Look at the balancing of the PS and the CS. It's not very bad. However, we are human beings. So give him time. Yeah.
I don't, maybe I will interject there, and maybe it's me who is reading from a different script. Maybe you are reading from a different script. I wonder, when we give somebody an office and then we say we don't hold them to account. If you promise to do A, I think it's in order for us to question if you don't do it. When he said 50% women in the cabinet and he fell short by so far away, I think we should ask him what happened. When we say we appreciate our socio-culture, I agree with that. And that's why we had the 2010 Constitution, which appreciated our socio-cultural circumstances, saying that our president should, because he has a free hand to do so, he can reach out and select very well qualified women. And there are thousands of them. And I disagree with my brother Choti that they are not very forefront. In fact, there are very many qualified women who have been fighting for space, only that we have never given them the space. So in my opinion, the president should be held accountable for promises that he has not kept within even less than 60 days of his presidency.
Can I say something? Can I say something in a half a minute?
Okay.
I think look at Obama. When Obama was campaigning, he went to the office. There are some things he didn't do. And when he was asked, he said, yes, I was outside. When I came in the office, there are some things I could not do. Remember, we have a very bad economy in Kenya. So the president is trying to get some people quickly, he understands well, and who can make the country move forward economically and give people jobs. Look, he promised people to give people food, reduce the prices. How can he do it and there's no money? So quickly, he did very well to tax people to increase the taxes. Europe, they are doing it. America, they are doing that. So I think the president is doing well to make sure he balances the economy, whereby he was given nothing in the country. There was nothing.
Thank you,
Actually,
thank you, Ben.
Dr. Komandi,
Wait,
quickly, Dr. Komandi, the issue of
wait
gender,
a minute. We are
the issue of gender is, I still urge Kenyans to insist we should hold the president accountable. Actually, the other day I was addressing women forum somewhere, and I was even wondering why they are required. I mean, he promised it. It is in the constitution. So we should hold him accountable, but also I'm told the government is still under is a work in progress,
Yeah.
and the president is working closely with the women, and I think you are going to see many women joining the government as days go by.
okay. Thank you. Now, when he just cabinet secretaries, I think Kenya was they felt there was balance. But when he just for 51 permanent secretaries, there is a lot of rambling about it, and this is the analysis, and I want you to look at it. Is this regional balancing? 13 Kalenjins, 13 Kikuyus, Luya 6, Kamba 4, Somali 8, Luo 2, Bokoti 1, Masai 1, Meru 1, Coast 1, Turkana 1.
Dr. Mandi, this is something that Kenyans are not happy about, and I think it's understandable. And personally, I don't think it's a progressive idea. I believe in building Kenya as a nation. It's nation building. I teach political science. I know what it means to build a nation and to instill patriotism in people. This is an issue about perception. This is an issue which I think requires Kenyans to respond positively and also honestly. I think at this age, in the 21st century, in our country, we should not put a government in place along very tribal lines.
Okay.
That is my view. And I think that's a progressive view. We understand how the voting patterns went. That one we understand. But again, Kenya is a nation of 42 ethnic groups. And any government must reflect the true picture of Kenya, of the Kenyan ethnic groups. For instance, the Kisis are conspicuously absent for the first time in the history of Kenya since independence. Kisis have never missed from the list of permanent secretaries. So I think I've tried to find out what happened. I spoke to some of the Kenyan Gusi leaders yesterday. I called some of them. And I think there is something happening among them, because I can't understand the president coming up with a list of principal secretaries, about 51 of them, and then we don't have even a single Kisi. And also, even those two leading groups in the government, that's the Mount Kenya region, the Rift Valley region, in my opinion, probably they should have gotten even 8 slots. You understand how they went. And then the rest should go to the other Kenyans. Because the issue is, it is perception. Are Kenyans perceiving this government as a fair government that promotes fairness, equity, and justice? So I think the president needs to rethink about that.
To summarize a little bit, I do understand your sentiments, Dr. Nim. What is your opinion on that? Because that is like actually 50% of the PS slots went to the Kikuyus and the Kalenjin, and the rest went.
Yes, thank you again. I think What is surprising me is that Kenyans are being surprised. That's what is surprising me, because during the first administration of Uhuru and Ruto, it was a coalition government, if you all remember that, the 2013 administration. In that administration, each one of those two sides of the coalition were given us slots in the government. The wing of Ruto selected a cabinet right from all of them. They were from Rift Valley. So I'm surprised that Kenyans are getting surprised of what he did. So for me, I'm not surprised, honestly, because I was expecting something, and more. Hold your breath. More is coming. You will see exact same things, because when you select policymakers, because BSS are more powerful and they are going to be the policymakers. That is exactly how development and distribution of the junior officers of the government would appear in the next 5 years. I'm not surprised. But here's the deal. Kenyans have a choice. They can put this to a stop. How? The 2010 Constitution is very clear. They can be actively engaged by opposing what is happening now and not later.
Daktari, I think I don't know whether I would leave a little bit, but if we guys are talking about, I don't know whether I would leave if we are going to make sure we don't come to tribal lines, the guy has picked the people who are technical people. I know there is failures he could have gone to DC and the rural and everywhere, but they didn't support him. These people are just getting, most of them, they didn't support the president. Yeah? They didn't vote for him, but he could do better than this.
Okay, I was just supporting your idea that so maybe he chose them according to that pattern.
Yeah,
that's what it appears. But then it is not supposed to be like that. That we were just doing some reflection, and there is one of the things he promised that we did. Remember, Ben, you were talking 100 days are coming in 2 weeks.
Yes.
So if you can see on that, one of the things Ruto had promised. Ruto promised to establish the 50 billion Asara fund within the first 100 days. Is that feasible?
It's not doable because there's nothing. He doesn't have money.
Why are you saying he doesn't have money? Kenya has money. Kenya has not run out of money.
I think when you go to the office, as I've said, there are some things you find out that they can't work.
Okay, as you say.
And that's why he has started correcting revenue and to make sure the loopholes are filled. Somebody mentioned it to me yesterday that nobody will steal in this government. I'm here to wait and see, because he will make sure he corrects revenue, because nobody's going to give him money from outside. So that he can be able to balance his budget. He doesn't have money. So what he's doing right now, I think, is in the right that direction.
Okay.
But also, Dr. Umandi, we must be aware that the government processes and the procedures also have to take place. Like now, the president does not just give one out like that. There is the parliamentary, the legislature, the parliamentary committees, the budgetary process. These things have to, and we are keen. Even those formation of parliamentary committees is now when they're being put in place. So at least I can see there was some kind of slowness in putting up this structure so that the government can take off quickly, because it's not something that the president's office can just say, oh, now I want this money to go out. It has to be worked out through those other processes.
Yeah,
and I think sometimes when people talk during campaigns, I've seen it even in America, it's all over the world. When people talk about, when they give promises during the campaigns, they give just straight, this, I will do this, I will do this, but we know that there are mechanisms in place which have to be followed,
Yeah.
as well by the law. So I think he will still working on that. The promise stands. That's a major area that he promised the people, and I think it will be done. Yeah.
Okay, good. Dr. Nim, what do you
I
have to
was
say?
wondering if maybe I am a skeptic and I'm going to be questioning him over and over again. And the people who question him are actually meant to make him even a better leader than those who support him. Here's my question now. I mean, he said it was going to be interest-free loan, and we know there's no free money. We should hold him to account that he was going to lend money out, and then immediately after elections, he's saying, who told you there's free money? He told them it was free money, and that's why they voted for him.
Yeah.
So we should hold him to account that when you are in the campaign trail, do not promise even the mundane things that you know for sure that you are not going to fulfill. There's no free money, we know that for sure. But he was telling those youths to vote for him because he was going to give them $50 billion, 50 billion Kenya shillings, free, interest-free, free for around 2 weeks after the elections. He says there's no free money. Now, my friend Penn, the government works this way. The government does not, there's no government in the world that has money somewhere in their account that works out. We all know that the projected correction of taxes is what they actually use in terms of their budgetary allocations.
That's
so
true.
Sure, we know that he will not be giving out that money anytime soon. Let's give him space. I agree with you all that let's give him time, 100 days, not even 6 months. In fact, 5 years, because we have no choice but have him for 5 years.
You see, Dr. what tickles me is when we were telling them this guy, he was saying this and he doesn't do it. He is the guy that we voted for. Remember when he went there and they said, oh, the stadium will be in 6 months. This one, this road will be in 5 months. We were telling people that, look, as you vote, make sure this guy says this. You voted for him. He is the one you voted for. So let's encourage him, support him to make the country move forward. And again, the government, I should say, doesn't have money, but they borrowed more. They borrowed a lot of money. We are in debt. So he has to make sure he pays, and he pays the money for the, he pays he can be able to balance the budget. They borrowed more than what they can be able to pay.
And another thing I think we need also to make a correction on the Asolas Fund. The concept was not about the free money. I think it was the voters understood as some kind of a loan anyway. I think free interest. I think that's what they said, that they won't pay interest. But if you listen at the moment, the language is changing a little bit. But the one thing we must appreciate, I'm not an economist, but Dr. Ondimo is, when you talk of giving free money to people, in terms of investment, it may not make sense. Those are like, it becomes like handouts. And when you give people handouts, usually most people just spend it. They go out, party, entertainment. But when you give somebody money, in the understanding that I may require that money back, either with interest or just the way it was, you give the person some kind of incentive. It becomes an incentive. It's an incitement that, then let me quickly invest this money and make something out of it. I think that is the concept. I look at it from that perspective. And I think, to me, it looks like good idea, and still, it will function. I think that's one of the noble ideas of the new government, and I think it will work.
Dr. I discussed it with somebody who was in the government of Kibaki, and he told me how Kibaki helped the country to grow. Kibaki was given money. He was told, just help your poor people. When he called all the CEOs of the banks, he said, why are you not borrowing? Why are you not giving money to people? He says people can't pay back. Why? If I give you money, can you reduce the interest and put these people money? He said yes. So that's how he injected money to the banks. They gave people money for small business. So there's no money for free. It was given, but Kibaki thought it's wise to give it so that they can be able to pay back. That's why you saw the country in 2007, the country went up. because the approach was good. So if Ruto can do the same, say we are giving you money, pay back. It's more interest on the government. He's trying to balance the budget because they hold a lot of money than what we have. That's the fact.
Yes, and just to piggyback on what you just said, and I do agree with you that there's no free money.
Yeah.
What I believe the president should be doing is not be the person to be talking about the fine details about policy. Because when he's, for example, last week he was saying that he was going to make sure that money comes out and it will be less than 10% interest. You cannot really dictate what the market is swinging at. Currently in Kenya, the inflation is at 8.5%. And then when you are going to tell banks to give out money for 9%, then you're essentially telling them that they are giving free money. So it's my humble opinion that the president should not be talking about those fine details because he should leave those to policymakers. And like
Yeah.
what you just mentioned,
That's true.
It's very important for him to stay a little bit higher than where he is. He's going to be a hands-on president. This last 45 days, he appears that he's going to be everywhere, putting his finger everywhere. It's okay, but I think it's going to be a challenge and hindrance to the policymakers, to the technocrats who will be implementing the projects that he so much desires and he promised so many people.
Yeah, Dr. Ndimu, but here he's a man who listens to experts and actually takes his job very serious. Even when he comes to office, he's there. He talks to experts. Even when the experts challenge him, he says, "Yeah, I'm here to listen." And I think some of them have said is one of the president who's listening. So it's really understanding the job and it's taking it very serious. That's what I heard from.
Yes, and I agree with you, and I've seen those traits in him, especially the last 2 weeks when he had given speeches about housing. And how the government is going to assist in low-income housing and construction and implementation of the housing industry. I did listen to him, and all he was saying was very, very policy and very, very nitty-gritty.
Yeah,
I do agree.
Actually, yeah, he gave a very good.
So my fear is he's all over. If he's going to be all over, let him only be supervising, but not putting fear. Because you can put fear into people and they get paralyzed and they cannot implement anything.
Daktari, I think you are saying the truth. Look at the Biden. Biden was the same. And Obama would tell him, Biden can say anything. There's a time he just said, Biden, we are taking it slowly. Right now, Biden is a president and he's doing very well. Ruto, he didn't have time with the president. You see, he was fighting. Now he's running some of the mistakes. But the goodness is, if you ask me, he is a good listener and he has a good intention for the country. So he will do well. If he asks those guys and they can listen, he will improve as we go. Because he's loose to those things before he talks to the expert. But if he has good advisors, as I know, he will change as we go.
But I think Ben, what Dr. Nim is trying to say, it's a good quality, but you can be overbearing until the people you are put in the office, you don't delegate any powers.
Yeah.
There is that danger. We are only saying that it's good to have a grasp of things, but then don't overdo it so much until people come and sit because they have to wait you to make a decision.
Yeah, I know.
But also, let us appreciate that it is transition. He's putting in place a government. In the last few days, he has been acting all over because he didn't even have the cabinet. And also, he's setting a tone.
Yeah.
Setting a tone. Because as he puts together, and if you see, it's one of the presidents in Kenya actually who has put a very strong team of economic advisors. If we have seen people like Kindi and others, he has put together a group of the best minds, economic minds in the country. And also, the kind of speeches he has been giving are like it's like policy kind of outlines. But again, he's setting a tone and putting his officers, the cabinet in place. Actually, soon you may not be seeing him a lot. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, but Dr. Joti, you can agree with me. sometimes you have to be very careful when you are dealing with these experts who might be having much more theory than practice.
Yes.
Professor Andy would be very good in theory, but when it comes to practice, people like the central bank governor, this what is it? That guy, people who deal with industry who understand how things go. You have to be very careful when you are dealing. So you can have a team which is already much of theory, but we hope that's a good sign that is trying to understand things other than leaving things to
Mm.
run for themselves too. Okay, and another topic. We saw many people who were appointed to the cabinet. They are the issues, and some of those cases have been withdrawn. Do you think there is a hand of the new government having the cases you have had all this coming? What is your take on this withdrawal of cases, Dr. Ndim?
I want to give the current administration the benefit of the doubt. Number one,
Mm,
the benefit of the doubt in that if indeed it is true that the previous administration was using the criminal justice system to criminalize their opponents, then let those cases be dropped. But I was, in the same note, a little surprised that DDP, that gentleman Hachi, will
mm,
come on TV and say that I was pressurized on the media by the previous DCI director
mm,
to charge Gashawa. In my opinion, that guy should be fired. He was saying he
mm,
was pressurized by the DCI on media
mm,
to charge somebody when they had no evidence of it. And he did it. It means it behooves to me that he is very incompetent, because that office is supposed to be an independent office where he has a tenure of the security of office.
mm,
So the first person I will fire if I I will have very incompetent is the
mm,
current director of prosecution, Mr. Hachi. Number two, and most importantly, I yesterday I read on the newspapers that the same institution that claims that they were being prosecuted, now they are selecting Murate, they are calling in Atwori. How do we know that this is not also political persecution? So our institutions, as far as I know, are
mm.
not independent.
So
In my,
that's an area Kenya needs to work on.
yes, correct.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
Mm,
And to add quickly on what Dr. Ondima said, I think that is an area which is very sensitive,
mm,
and I would wish, especially the legislature, through the judiciary committee, parliamentary committee, maybe we need a commission.
mm,
We need some independent body to investigate the claims made by which were recently made that the DCI was doing his work serving political interests, because I think that is very serious allegations. And remember, Kinoti also did his job, and he won a lot of admiration from people. He's a former classmate of my college mate of mine. Actually, we were in the same class at Egerton University.
mm,
I know he's a serious worker, and his reputation is at stake. The best way to deal with that issue is to have some kind of an independent commission to investigate those allegations. And if they are true, I think it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. But also, look at cases where, like the current deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua. I remember there was a time he could be arrested on Friday and be released on Monday. It continued for some time, if you recall that. So in Kenya, me, I'm not surprised to hear that sometimes the executive arm of government
mm.
appropriates these other arms of government for it to serve these interests, which is unfortunate. And I think this is something Kenyans should be more concerned. That one
Yeah.
is
Mm.
troubling, and I wish our parliamentary people could intervene so that we know more, we know the truth. Because now we can't tell who is saying the truth and who is trying to play propaganda, which is very unfortunate.
Now, there is something I need to ask about. The job of Hachi is to prosecute those who have been found who have violated the law. and this one has to come from like the DCI. So if he is given the evidence and then he is starting a prosecution, but he will need a watertight case to do it, and then it does not come. And that's what Matiang was saying. Sometimes they have intelligence. When they go to court, they are told that this is not evidence.
But
Yeah.
I'm surprised, Dr. Mandy. Even recently, even the petition, even the recent petition by the opposition leader, they went to court. What did the Supreme Court say? There was no evidence. I mean, that's why I'm saying we need a commission, some independent opinion, so that we know the truth. Because in Kenya, sometimes some things happen and the public is left stranded. Now you do not know who is saying the truth and who is lying, which is quite unfortunate. Me, I don't think we have a truly independent judiciary yet.
Okay.
Yes. I agree with
Okay,
you.
Ben. Yeah.
I agree with you, Professor. Until we have independence of these three arms, we are not going nowhere.
Yeah.
Because Ruto will be in judiciary, tomorrow is in where? He's in charge like Moi. Somebody was saying that you take Moi to court, you find him as the judge. So we decide on his way. So what we are trying to say is corruption in Kenya, Dr. Ndimu, is far away to get there. I was thinking about it, say, can we start teaching our children from lower primary school so that we can eliminate corruption? It is a disease that we are still don't know what to do. I think from what forgiving these people from court because we don't have evidence is a one way of moving forward. If we have a new evidence now, that will be something. I think what he did is not bad, but as the professor said, let's have a commission. So that we can have a truth what happened.
But let us talk about the case of the deputy president Gachawa.
Yes.
It went through court, and he was asked actually to account where he got all the money which was on his account, and he could not produce even a local service order that I delivered things to Kakamega County, and that's what I was paid. The judge actually ruled that case that the money he got, he could not account for it. It was corrupt money. That was a case which was determined in court. But now Archie is saying that he was told to drum up churches. What do you have to say about that? Because there was evidence.
For me, I as I mentioned earlier on, Haji, he's a PPP for hire. He just swings around and turns us to whoever is in power, in my opinion. Because the way he was explaining himself, the other day. He was very wanting for a man of his stature, that he was pressurized by the DCI to charge him in court. And that was the simple excuse. And that's an excuse. It's not a reason, in my opinion.
No.
And I rarely agree with the mullah, who really, I disagree with his philosophy on how he does things, but I do agree with him on this end, that Haji is very incompetent. Haji is not supposed to be the DPP in Kenya today, because he really has every single ingredient of an incompetent prosecutor, because he doesn't have facts. Indeed, somebody was saying he has never gone to court himself to prosecute a case and win. If that is true, then we have incompetency. And to my brother Choti's assertion that we need a commission, if everybody is corrupt, how do we know this commission will not be corrupted?
Will not be corrupt.
So that's a question. So it's really it's in other words, we are forming what we call a perfect storm for another Tigray. If we cannot root out corruption and root out these skewed appointments, some people somewhere will feel disenfranchised, they'll feel robbed, and that will be a perfect storm for civil strife. Let's take that away. Let's just do something. Everybody, once given an office, to do anything and everything right. Because
But only
like that, then we are building a perfect storm for civil strife.
But I think, Dr. Mudimu, you are saying the truth. But if we go back, what the commissioners in the past, they have given us the truth. Remember how many commissioners we had? Several commissioners we had in Kenya. Most of them, they gave the fact. They could not even print it out. Like Kebaki, there was a commission, I remember, Kebaki would not bring it out because there was a lot of truth in it.
You know what happens when I talk of a commission? This is some kind of proceedings normally take place in the public, and even the appointment of the commissioners probably is done by different independent bodies, including the legislature, such that it's not easy to compromise and corrupt all of these individuals. Now, by Dr. Ndimu's argument, then we are replaced. Everyone in Kenya is potentially corrupt, which is not the case anyway. I know we have decent people, given independent of Kenya and given assured that they have the necessary resources. We have people who are extremely independent. We have people in the opposition, people who have been in the opposition and they are known to be independent. They can be members there. We can even get some from external, outside the country. I still believe that we can find a way to establish the truth. Because Aji was not put there by Ruto. He came there through wherever. He was serving the interests of the former regime. I mean, but again, now he's trying to dance to the new regime. I mean, to me, it's a sign of incompetence. But again, how do we know where the truth lies?
Now, that is the statement I put there. The president-elect stated that his administration will, within the 100 days, halt the investigation of cases he claims are selective and politically instigated to settle scores. So, would you say that is the president? That is the president himself said, and he has done it. So, would you say that the hand of the president is not behind the withdrawal of these cases?
Dr. Umandi, we don't want to say that the president is innocent, because the judiciary in Kenya does not act in a vacuum, does not operate in a vacuum. There is political influence. Real. It is there. It's visible. And the Kenyans you can see that. You can perceive that. Look at what Raila was talking in West Africa, in Western Kenya recently. There's someone who has been jailed over. Then he says he should be released simply because he feels the others have been done the same. Is that the rule of law? Is that the principle of promoting the rule of law? No. So now these politicians, Kenyan politicians, I think they're the ones who have corrupted the system, the legal system. And I think Kenyans must see this as one of the most serious problems we face in the country. It's a challenge we face in the country, and it affects the rule of law. And without the rule of law, Kenya's progress is not guaranteed. I don't think we can develop without the rule of law. We need the rule of law for us to have a better country, a better society to live in.
I agree, Doctor, with you that I thought that was a very wrong moment for Raila. To comment about somebody who has been found guilty in a court of law, that he should be released. It's quite amazing. But then, as we have said, there is still a lot to be done in how to detach the government. Do you think that the DPP needs to have their own budget? Because I think they rely on investigation from DCI.
Already, I think already there is a process of being independent and give out their own each budget, according to the president. I would also agree. Look at Maraga. Maraga tried to bring the independence in the judiciary, but what happened? The regime said we will revisit. We will revisit, and this is the revision that they did. You see, but the commissioner, I remember, there's a commission called Trun, Commission of Ouko. What happened? The Trun, they gave exactly what happened, but did it come out? It didn't. So I agree with Professor what he said. Let's have a commission. Let's have the facts, even if it's independent from outside, so that we know exactly what happened and what is in Kenya, so that we can move forward. And
Yeah.
what your question, Daktari, your question,
Yeah.
we are far away if we ourselves are not independent.
Okay.
So I was going to
yeah.
was going to add on to that, saying that the termination of those cases, yet we have these new cases coming up, which I've considered politically instigated. I was telling you that if you have read the newspapers, Murathe Aturi are being now invited to visit the Integrity Center to be investigated over some other city fraud that I don't know about land and about money. Now we are seeing one wing of this government, because they were in the opposite section or the other formation. Now we are seeing cases being dropped, new ones being popped up, which can be considered, even though they might be legitimate cases. Perception, like Dr. Chodi said, is very critical. Perception. This perception is going to appear like the new government, the new administration is going to persecute others because of their political beliefs. And look, for example, as you mentioned earlier on, Gashawa could not explain the origin and source of his income, but the case has been dropped.
Yeah.
So, and now, today, I think today, if not yesterday, Raida was up reading names of people who should be also investigated, how they died, simply because the Ruto administration is investigating the disappearance and death of the two Indians. So the risk is now growing. That's why I said that the appointments, perception about the appointments of his government, perception about the dropping of those cases is forming a perfect storm for civil strife.
Okay.
If he doesn't handle this very well, he's just forming a perfect storm for a civil strife. And we don't want to go that route.
Okay. There is one other question we need to talk about, disbanding the special police unit. Do you think it was proper, or you could have done it in any other way? Dr. Chot?
Dr. Manda, I think when the president we tend to give him the benefit of doubt, because he's someone who gets intelligence every day, every morning. He receives intelligence. He knows a lot. He has been a deputy president for the last 10 years, and now he's the president. And he says he's doing away with the DCI because of what they have been doing, which is criminal. And again, this is equal to me, to the public. These are very serious. These are very serious allegations. It's a very serious issue, because we want to know exactly what they have done. Probably there are so many families today who are suffering because they lost their loved ones under circumstances which were not good. So that's why I'm saying the president should go further and they put in place like something like a commission, independent. That can be done through parliamentary procedures, because we want to know more. When he just does that and keeps quiet, many Kenyans ask questions. What did they do? And what of the victims? How can they? How, it's a process, conversation. We should be a serious country. I think that is a very serious thing the president did. And for him to have done that, he has facts.
Do you know anything? Do you know anything about this special police unit? I mean, many people.
Of course, you know, Ruto has not just come. He has not just happened in the country.
But do you know what they were doing? The special unit.
What I'm hearing is sometimes we are things which we cannot establish. Some say they were involved in some killings. Okay. They were involved in some not very good deals. Actually, according to the president, they were not doing good.
Okay.
So, and now we want to know what was this they were doing and how it did affect Kenyans. And if Kenyans were adversely affected, And then we need to know this, and even conversation take place. And then we don't again repeat the same mistake.
And I
And-
agree with
Yeah.
I agree with you, my friend Dr. Choti. And you can also add on that and say history has it that every new administration, when they come in, they disband special units. Anybody remembers the flying squad? Does it
Yeah.
exist anymore? Disbanded, right? A while back. And anybody remember that what we used to call the Patrick Shaw something when Kibaki came into power? He disbanded those things. So, like you rightly said, Ruto has information how the government works. He's been in government all his life since he graduated from college. So he understands the in things. I'm afraid, however, that they are forming another unit.
Another unit.
So this unit now is going to be the do what now? Exact same thing, but for somebody else's purpose.
Yeah.
So that's here.
Okay. I have some information about that. That sometimes the government was being frustrated. They arrest criminals, they bring them to court, they are told you don't have enough evidence, and the same criminals go back to the street, they start terrorizing people. And then they had to form a special unit. It was like a kangaroo court. They have all the intelligence, you are a criminal, so they go eliminate you, and then they throw you in a forest, and it's gone. It must have come out of that frustration. So people are being killed. Of course, we saw a family in Nakuru which is crying of their sons who just disappeared. It's not good even if a person is a criminal. He needs to have his time in court. But they were getting frustration, and that's what they were doing. They were doing justice of the street. Which, if we can have really proper evidence, which is done, you saw here somebody has served. Is it in California? Has served 38 years on a crime he never committed. The DNA exonerated him after 38 years. At least justice came. So if we don't have that system where due process is given, we are going to see another, as Dr. Nima said, another group come which will also do the same things.
I think in Kenya we need to do things differently, and I had thought that with the new constitution we were going to have very strong, independent institutions like the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive, very independent and separate from each other. But now it frustrates. It is very frustrating when you find that again the executive is very much in control, tries to influence how the judiciary operates. That is very unfortunate. Kenyans really need an independent, functioning, active judiciary. And that, so that we work towards a society that upholds the principles of the rule of law. And before we attain that, I think we are in problems. And it's very frustrating when we see that we had a branch, a judiciary branch, which was not doing their roles properly. It is very frustrating to the public because we spend a lot of resources to keep those people in office. The expenditure is quite a lot. Kenyans are suffering. There are no money for development. And I think we need to be more serious. And I wish this new government
But then
could promote the rule of law.
there are also lessons, good lessons to be learned. Like the outgoing interior minister, Matiang'i, there was one time he lamented.
It's a practical example, Chief Justice. One candidate in a constituency in Nairobi moved around on a Sunday morning to every restaurant in that constituency. And everyone he found in that restaurant on that day, they give them 200 shillings, others 500. To every butchery, they find you queuing to get a kilo of meat, they give you 200, and so on. That can't be their own money, obviously, as it were. And if you followed the guy and you tracked their record, you discover they're one of the people that Kinoti is actually following up. But until Kinoti gathers enough information, some of the information we have is from intelligence. And my judge friends who are in the room tell me intelligence is not evidence. You see, so the question is, and then you are faced with this thing of you are using evidence you have acquired from illegal sources. So I don't know how we will win, because you see, we have intelligence, this is what's happening. We have intelligence, this is the kind of guy we are dealing with. I turn up at, before my friend judge, he says this is evidence obtained from illegal sources. And then there's nothing I can do. This fellow continues to bribe people around. And as I said, honestly speaking, and I'm saying this as a responsible public servant, if we are not careful, it is going to become very, very difficult to manage, especially elective institutions in this country. So the question is, how are we going to manage the governance of the country as we move forward? Because this campaign finance law, you will take it to Parliament. Who is going to amend it? The same wash-wash guys who have arrived there. And so on. Note that wash-wash culture is what actually got them into Parliament in the first place. It's a debate. We just need to find out what to do. But the truth of the matter is that we notice these things, we see these things, and you're the ones who keep telling us all the time, intelligence is not evidence.
So Dr.
Yeah.
I go back what they say. Unless we ourselves, individually, were independent and we are honest to ourselves,
yeah,
we know where we go nowhere. You asked a question about separation of the CDI and is it good for them to have their own budget? I think, according to me, it's a good idea, so that they are not controlled from OP. That was a very good step, because Ruto knows already the frustration he had gone through. If he had good intention, which I know, it will work, Dr. Ondimu, if all of us we are honest to ourselves.
I do agree with you. I do agree with you to that extent only, though. My friend Church will tell you, because he has tested the turbulent waters of politics in Kenya. The worst guys will really kick you really bad when you're in that field. He can tell you, and he can attest that even if, and he's a very astute and very well-intended politician, Dr. Churchy here. He has really helped so many. But when he was running for office, because he did not have the money, that kind of money that Dr. Matiang'i just mentioned, his voice will not be heard.
Yeah,
he wouldn't even win.
Yeah, you can never be heard in Kenya. Actually, corruption starts from the elector, because the elector in Kenya now, even if you have good, beautiful ideas, you have to pay the elector to listen to you first, and you have to pay more for the elector to understand you and they decide to vote for you. And those things don't come easy.
Yeah, and also it's difficult in Kenya because I think we have a culture of dishonesty and corruption. It's a corrupted culture, so it will take time to change it. Normally, culture is not something you can change just abruptly. It takes a while. But again, it begins with the law, enacting laws and implementing them. The problem, the laws are made by man and implemented by man. The same corrupt Kenyans, the same politicians we are talking about are the ones who make those laws and ensure that those laws are implemented. So that's where we have a problem. I can understand the frustrations Matiang'i is trying to express himself here. Yeah, when him talked about politics, I've been in politics. I've campaigned. Even Omandi has been there before. These things are really, and they are always there. The Kenyan public itself is corrupt.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, many voters will even openly tell you that, my friend, you are too honest to be in this.
To be in politics.
Yeah, you should.
Well, our time is gone. I know. I know, like Dr. Nimu was in a lunch break. He's supposed to go to the office. So we'll continue with this next week. We will have another topic. We will be talking about the reflection on the county governments next week. So stay tuned the same time for next week. We'll be there and have a chat. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so very much, and good to see you again. As Churchy was going to be in this new administration, I was very disappointed.
No, he's still going to be.
No. I mean, I don't want to preempt